A morning comes that's bright, the vast majestic sky a stunning blue. Their naked branches against the sky are proud, and in them you may see a robin sing. That sight and song lifts spirits from the ground and makes us feel our souls have taken wing. Then winter seems not so especially bad, that we endure the worst, so that our hearts be glad.
During lockdown, many of us started seeking solace in the countryside. The Bath Soft Cheese Company, based at Park Farm in Kelston, has been offering its space to the local community of Bath.
So I'm living in Bath, in the city, and we come for our country fix here.
I was a Bristol boy to start with, but I've always liked it in the country rather than Bristol, because there's more going on out here, and you're only 5 minutes away from the countryside.
There's no cars racing by, no ambulance sirens. It's just so relaxing and
it's quieter.
Yeah, it's peaceful, it's tranquil, it's fresh.
But mainly it's because it's a good walk. It's a nice walk and you get a nice cup of coffee and or tea or whatever, and it's a lovely setting.
The Bath Soft Cheese Company is home to the local Padfield family who have been milking their cattle herd for 4 generations. They take a traditional approach to how they raise and graze their small herd of just over 160 cows, and to the production of their award-winning artisan handmade organic cheeses. Hugh Padfield is now the current owner of the farm, and he has worked closely with his father, Graham, since his youth.
My great-grandfather moved here in August 1914, and of course, the next 4 years in Europe were devastating. But they survived the wars, and actually, being in farming is in many ways a better place to be during a crisis. And we've continued milking cows here since then, so over 100 years now.
If you went back to my father's time, he would have started out milking cows by hand. There would have been a team of people here who twice a day milked 20, 30 cows by hand.
Well, I've learned everything from my father. And very early on, he got us involved in working on the farm. We'd start work at 7:30, and we would try and get to the point as soon as possible that you could start work in just a pair of boots and a pair of shorts, and stay like that all day long. And by the end of the summer, you were brown as a berry, and it just, you felt like you were living the life. I can remember once, I was driving a tractor and trailer out to the combine to collect grain. And it was a beautifully sunny day, and I was working on my tan anyway, so I decided to climb out of the tractor cab onto the roof of the tractor as it was going across a big field and lay on the roof of the tractor with no one at the steering wheel for the 2 minutes it took to drive across the field, then climb back in and drove through the gateway. But at the same time, bizarrely, I kind of wasn't that proud of being a farmer. I didn't see it as a particularly glamorous line of work, and I never thought that I would do that. So I was one of 4 children, and my eldest sibling, my older brother, he was very keen on farming. So I always assumed he would take over the farm. But actually my brother sadly died of cancer when he was quite young, so he was 34 when he died. There was a possibility at that point that my father would sell up. And at the time I was working in London, and actually my boss at the time said, "Where do you think you're going to be in 5 years?" And I said, "You know what, I might go back to the farm." And for me, working on the farm isn't like working at all. The first few months that I was back here, I said to my wife, I feel like I'm on my summer holidays.
It's self-motivating, if you're lying in bed, if you wake up in the morning and you think, oh, those cows got to be milked, or they've got to be fed, or they've got to be cleaned out, or they've got to be moved, or that fence has got to go up, it's self-motivating. It is quite a fulfilling job to do, looking after animals. It's a two-way thing, that we look after them, they look after us. You're making that noise again, excuse me. And so I've always thought, well, farming's a pretty good thing, really.
The agricultural sector manages around 70% of the land in the country, producing high quality, safe and affordable food while playing an integral part in protecting, maintaining and enhancing the countryside. Moreover, farmland is the destination of 48% of visits and days out for families. This is roughly around 4 billion visits every year.
Sunlight falls on farmyard walls, makes dappled shades on backs of cows and timber boards. Now, see a dairymaid with bucket full and fresh, see her pause and gently place the milk to rest. This is how a wife of Bath will taste, brimful of life and earthy love, but at the same time, blessed.
So it's an interesting point about the pace of life in the countryside, because certainly running any small business is quite hectic. So we've got the farming business, we've got the cheese making business, and then we've got the cafe and farm shop business. The first person in is the cowman. So he starts at about 3:30 in the morning. So in the summer, that's getting the cows in from the field. In the winter, he'll be scraping out some of the muck from the corridors of the building to make sure the cows don't get too mucky as they're coming into the parlour. And then he sets up the milking machine, and then he'll start milking the cows around 4:30. So the cows get milked at 4:30 in the morning, and then again about 2:30 in the afternoon. Someone arrives at about 6:30, 7 to start collecting the milk, transferring it across. So they'll start pasteurisation at 7:30.
So at the moment we've added the rennet, and I'm just checking for coagulation. So that's when the milk turns into solid. So it's a little bit, at the moment it's a little bit like a firm yoghurt.
In the year 2000, Graham invented the Wife of Bath, a nutty and sweet semi-hard cheese named after the character in Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. While in 2010 he started making Bath Blue, a world-renowned cheese.
Again, the cheese is made in a small way, not a big way. And you're tasting the view, you really are. And the reason we're able to make a living out of doing that, whereas our parents couldn't, is because people can afford to pay for high quality food, for niche food that, that you can see, it's got a provenance.
I think it's nice to stay local.
But we're very lucky to have this on our doorstep, really. Very lucky. Only
Since
really since
Furlough.
lockdown,
Yeah,
to be honest with
lockdown.
you, that we've discovered this. This is one of the only ones that are open that could have a coffee outside or with beautiful surroundings,
Chickens, cows, lovely people, amazing food and countryside.
We've had lovely feedback from people saying things like, your cafe and farm have kept us going through the lockdown, which is really lovely to hear.
Concerns over COVID and the threats to local businesses led the British population to reconnect with their local producers. The Guardian reported that almost 2/3 of consumers in the UK are now choosing to buy produce closer to home, leading to a 63% rise in spending at specialist food stores.
The meat is much nicer, and obviously with the ethical side of it, that's what I like. I don't like to think it's all factory driven.
It supports local businesses, it's local food, local produce, and it's what we should do, I think.
I think what I would agree with is the perception of the countryside being a place where you can relax. What we're really, trying to share with people is this is what it's like to live in a beautiful part of the country.
As people have reconnected with their surrounding nature, national footpaths have provided a happiness and mental well-being boost. It seems that this is one of the upsides to the lockdown gloom experienced by many. The long-term legacy of this newfound appreciation for nature is yet to be seen.
But now I cannot help but say, and you may say I'm getting old, that now I want to savour days, not rush to see the world. So let the cows slowly walk and carefully place their feet, and I will ruminate on how this pace of life is sweet.